Well, good morning, everyone. I am very excited to have all of you attend today. My name is Bobby Spiegel. I'm the President and CEO for the Corona Chamber of Commerce. It is indeed a great pleasure to partner with the City of Corona today, and I just want to cover a couple of items before we bring the main topic on. If you have not already done so, please mute yourself. You'll see the mute button there, and we'll be able to go ahead and take care of having you mute so that other people will be able to follow along. As well, please use the chat box, and you see on the slide that is up there now, that chat is for you to post in, and you'll see to look for the Corona Chamber questions go here person, and you can mark down all of your questions. If you are not already a member of the Corona Chamber, we would ask that you consider joining by talking to Robert Yanez. And Robert is an expert for us here. He's our membership development specialist, and he will offer you all the different opportunities, showing you the benefits and the features of what the Chamber has to offer. There are a lot of activities this week, and I do want to run through them quickly and in about the next 90 seconds, but I would like for you to just write down a phone number, 737-350, and that's 951 area code, or you can email me, Bobby, B-O-B-B-Y, at mychamber.org. This coming up Wednesday is our Corona Chamber business briefing. We have the economic profile by Dr. Chris Thornburg. There is the bit.ly that is on the screen there that you can log on to. We would love for you to be on that 1 hour call. The next slide, the next slide is the luncheon that we have coming up, and that will be for this Thursday. If you're interested, please give us a call. In November, we have multiple events coming up. There's a Paul Webb seminar, and this is an NLP master trainer. This deals with all the different personality types. It is our session 6. It will cover everything that you need to know. It is excellent information. The bit.ly is on there. The next slide, we have Coffee with the Entrepreneur on the 9th of November. This again is in partnership with the City of Corona, and it is free for you to attend. We ask that you do register through the bit.ly down below. And the last slide that we have on here is our salute to the military. Every single year, the Corona Chamber proudly recognizes our military, active duty as well as any veterans. We want to buy you breakfast. We only ask that you go online and register. So if you have any questions, please contact Bobby, B-O-B-B-Y, at mychamber.org, or call us at 951-737-3350. And now it is my great deal of pleasure and pride to introduce our business partner who is with the City of Corona. I had the honor and privilege to actually meet Jessica during the last bit of an interview process before they hired her. And I just was so blown away with the ability to articulate and to be able to build consensus with people. I later found out through working with her as well as the County of Riverside, the connections that this lady has. And it doesn't just stop right here in this area here. She has a lot of experience down in the Orange County area, but she is well known throughout the state of California. We are beyond blessed and fortunate to have Jessica Gonzales here in the City of Corona. She is our Economic Development Director. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jessica.
Thank you, Bobby, for the kind introduction. And we are delighted equally to have this partnership that we have with the Chamber of Commerce to bring forth this topic today. And so today I'm very excited that we are able to share how we're supporting our manufacturers here in Corona. We are home to over 400 manufacturers, and that we take very much to heart in finding ways to support, to bring more attention to this critical industry sector. And so today we have 3 amazing speakers for you that will give you a glimpse into the resources, opportunities, and the careers in manufacturing. So to start us off, I want to introduce our first speaker, Dennis Sonney, who also goes by Sonney. He is with the California Manufacturing Technology Consulting. And Sonney has over 18 years of experience supporting our manufacturers throughout the state. He's based out of the Inland Empire. He's the chair of the Inland Empire Manufacturing Peer Council CEO program and also the co-founder of the Inland Empire Women in Manufacturing Movement. Thank you, Sonney, for being a partner to the city, to the chamber, and thank you for being with us today.
Oh, thank you, Jessica, and the City and Chamber of Corona for hosting the discussions today about manufacturing, an industry in high demand with lots of capabilities for employee growth and advancement. Again, my name is Sonney, Dennis Sonney, and I work to support our manufacturing industry in the Inland Empire. Next slide, please. Let's get started with the meaning of manufacturing. Manufacturing means the making or producing something by hand, typically by machinery or in a large scale, taking something and turning it into a needed, usable product. The monitor you're viewing this presentation on was manufactured. The chair you're sitting in, the clothing on your back. Next slide, please. The way things are being manufactured today have radically changed from the times our grandfathers made things. It was once a dirty, greasy, testosterone-driven environment in the past, and that's not the case with manufacturing today. Next slide. Do you like making things? Do you like working with your hands? Do you like STEM tools? STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. These tools are incorporated in so many elements of the manufacturing industry. This slide demonstrates some of the departmental functions of manufacturing. Next slide. Let's talk about some of the really cool things we use today. These things were all manufactured. The sneakers you are wearing, the Catan game you might have played over the weekend with your family during quarantine, the interior of our cars, all those parts are made and designed in large quantities. Your ear pods, your earrings, or even your Fender guitar. Look around you. You are surrounded by things that were manufactured. Next slide, please. There are many aspects of the manufacturing industry you could be a part of. You could be in the department and design area. Do you like to draw and sketch? Manufacturing designing could be your calling. There is a program out in the world called Onshape, where you could draw, your friend can draw, you could have people from back east drawing with you on the same program, all sorts of ways of integrating your thoughts and ideas into this program. Or you could be in a 3D printing team that provides prototypes and the designs. Production, testing, running the machines, doing quality tests. Perhaps you have an interest with logistics and planning, sort of like planning a birthday party where you at your house where you need cups, plates, a cake, music, chips, invitation. All of that is planning and sorting out the logistics of the party. During our COVID world, many of our manufacturers were forced to resource their products and supplies domestically. And it was my company that helped them do that. Next slide, please. This month, October, it's a special month for the manufacturing industry. If we were not in a pandemic, during the month of October, many of our manufacturers open their doors and allow the public inside to become inspired, to peek at how things are made, where you could watch for yourself. Not being able to do this, we had some online versions of Manufacturing Month earlier a couple of weeks ago. We want you to know that manufacturing jobs are in abundance, and we are aware and want you to be aware that you too could get involved in a career path that includes making things. To my females involved in today's presentation, I want you to know that manufacturing careers are for you too. Women are largely underrepresented in the manufacturing industry. Do in life what you want to do. You too can become extremely successful in the manufacturing world. Next slide, please. Where are all the manufacturers? Many of those large buildings you see off the sides of the freeway are manufacturers. We have over 400 manufacturers in the Corona area alone, as Jessica pointed out, and 38,000 in the state of California. We lead the nation in the number of manufacturers. We have over 1.3 million manufacturing jobs in California with an average salary of $105,000. Yet we have a shortfall in filling the so many manufacturing jobs in our communities because people are not considering jobs in this industry. The world and our economy relies on us to make things as fast as they are developed and as fast as we grow as a nation. Next slide, please. As I mentioned in the previous slide, California leads the nation with a number of STEM-related positions. Texas, just behind us. The moral of the story here is to take those STEM, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics classes, and pay attention. Those math skills that you learn today will help you gain access to positions outside of school with some really cool companies making some really cool products for your family and for the world. Next slide, please. With 38,000 manufacturers in California, with 1.3 million manufacturing jobs in California, and with California leading the nation with our ability to produce products to customer demands, where will you work? What interests you? Is it space? Is it automobiles, computers, planes, guitars? You do not need to move out of California to find an amazing position with a company. We have it all right here for you. There are many logos on this slide based in Riverside County, and several are in Corona. Some of those companies are owned and operated by women. I reiterate that manufacturing is for everyone. Next slide, please. In a previous slide, I spoke about functional departments within the manufacturing industry. This slide, I want you to see some of the positions involved in manufacturing. Do you see something on this list that interests you? If so, your future could include a job in manufacturing. Let's talk about a few of them. Cybersecurity, for instance. Why cyber in manufacturing? Well, do you want somebody to hack into the machines that are making the walls that are going inside of our airplanes? They could do that and create a weak point in the metal. So we have cyber experts that are directly attached to our manufacturing industry. What about science skills used in paint? How much does the paint on a plane weigh? And how do we reduce the chemicals in that paint to be lighter? Or how fast will the paint dry on a Fender guitar when you need to make 540 guitars in one shift? Next slide, please. I want you to think about your future. You may not know the answers to where you will be in your future in terms of your career, but focus on what excites you. If it's drawing, then draw. If it's programming, then program. If it's planning and logistics, keep planning. If it's robotics and automation, keep tinkering and using your mind. Take those STEM and CTE classes and courses in school. Next slide, please. While the future is where you will be living, I want you to consider how far we've come in making products. So yabba dabba doo. Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble visualized here in prehistoric time of chipping stones for round transportation, the evolution to wooden wheels, horse buggies, to steam and gas vehicles, to the popular electrical vehicle used today. And if you missed the California governor's announcement of all new cars and passenger trucks sold in California to be zero emission vehicles by 2035, many of you listening today will play a huge part of that aggressive automotive manufacturing industry change to come. Next slide, please. Did you know that we have electric vehicle manufacturer in Riverside County? Yes, it's Karma Cars in Moreno Valley. And I'm so proud of Karma. They were just awarded a contract to manufacture 20,000 vehicles by 2023. And their GSE 6 model will give owners a 300-mile range per charge and a price tag of $79,000. It really does compete with our friends over at Tesla. Next slide, please. So while thinking about Karma Cars comes manufacturing jobs, and these are STEM paying local jobs. So last night I went to the Karma job board and I pulled down some of the positions they have in Moreno Valley: productivity engineers, equipment engineers, paint shop. Here we are again talking about paint in manufacturing, metal finishing positions. Next slide, please. Shipping and receiving clerk. Do not disregard these positions. I know presidents of companies that have started in the shipping and receiving side of business. Production control, quality leaders. Next slide, please. Quality inspectors, production planning, human resources, operations and manufacturing. The jobs exist, and we have some outstanding makers in our backyards looking for you to help them produce goods. And if it's not cars that excite you, let's talk about some disruptions, things that are changing the ways that we live our lives today with products, with innovative minds like yours developing and bringing to the market. Next slide, please. How many of you are wearing a smartwatch today? How many steps? Are you counting your steps? How many steps you took today? This kind of data helps us. This kind of technology is disrupting the way that we live our lives, but yet in a good way. I'm working in factories where they incorporate smart eyeglasses, reading inventory levels, and feeding back data to the computer systems that's managing supply ordering. All it took was an idea. Somebody said, hey, wouldn't it be great to have glasses or a machine on top of my forklift that was counting inventory levels as it drove around? Next slide, please. The baby industry has radically changed utilizing technology. Expected mothers can now wear a wrap around a wrap that tracks the baby's oxygen levels. It counts the number of kicks and contractions, or there's a wrap that you can place on the baby's foot that will alert the parents that if the baby rolls over in the middle of the night. These technologies help us. They give us peace of mind. They allow us to live better lives. What would be the price that you pay to save the life of your infant? These tech tools equals jobs, and these jobs equal opportunities in our towns. Next slide, please. On the shop floor, I see incredibly smart software systems being used to manage inventory levels, productivity teams, supply chains, data, and quality. On the right side of your screen, you'll see a mechanism where the production worker could sit down anywhere on the shop plant to reduce fatigue. On the bottom, you see a worker using his smart eyeglasses to trigger the next department that he has completed his part in the manufacturing cycle, and the part is moving downstream. So when you are busy counting those steps that you took today, I'm helping companies incorporate technologies into practice to help speed up the way that they produce products and the quality and quantity of products coming from them, from our California-made companies. Next slide, please. So how do you get a job? How do you get a manufacturing job? What attributes do you need to possess? What should you do? Consider a trade school certificate or an apprenticeship job. Many of the positions in manufacturing do not require a 4-year or 2-year degree program. But most importantly, have a great attitude. Be a team player and dedicated and determined. Continue to brand yourself on social media. Continue to study STEM activities, the science, technology, engineering, and math. Next slide, please. We have some amazing technical trade schools right here in the Inland Empire. College, again, I will say, college is not the answer to everyone. If you have a technical training skill and a great attitude, you will go very far. Do not make excuses for your future. We do not have time for excuses. If college and university study is too expensive to achieve, consider a trade school. Now, my nephew, he just graduated, and I'm so proud of him. He graduated a trade school. He took a welding class, and he received his welding certificate, and he landed a great position, making really good money in a short time. It was within a couple of months that he had that certificate. And now my nephew, he can travel anywhere in the world, and he can get a job with this new skill. Next slide, please. I hope I've inspired you today in the possibilities of a career in manufacturing. I want you all to succeed in whatever you choose to do in life. So please do not make excuses, make things. Next slide. I want you to have my contact information. I work through a nationwide network to strengthen the Made in USA brand. I work to do this the work that I do is largely funded through the National Institute of Standards and Technology, who writes and holds the laws of quality management systems and developing working standards our manufacturers must comply to. I'm based, as Jessica said, right here in the Riverside County, and I've touched over 1,500 manufacturers in the Inland Empire in my term. And I co-founded the Inland Empire Women in Manufacturing movement because I saw, as I went out to those 1,500 manufacturers, that women are largely underrepresented in this industry, and we must break down that stereotype. Next slide, please. Supporting our manufacturing industry and the Made in USA brand comes through a network of centers across the USA and Puerto Rico. There is one center in every single state of and the company that I'm attached to is the center supporting California. Our center is CMTC, and that's cmtc.com. CMTC supports the 38,000 manufacturers in California through 19 regional manufacturing assistance teams. And I lead that manufacturing team in the Inland Empire. Next slide, please. Supporting this region takes a tribe. It really does. And I want to point out a few of my friends who understand manufacturing. The following Riverside Inland Region manufacturing advocates have joined me, have walked with me on manufacturing plants, and they truly understand the values and needs of our local makers. Next slide, please. Supervisor Karen Spiegel. She has been directly involved in the manufacturing industry and advocates for our makers. She is photoed here at the Inland Empire Women in Manufacturing event as a speaker, and she presented a scholarship award to 2 young ladies to continue their studies in the manufacturing industry. Thank you so much, Supervisor Karen Spiegel, for your continued support. Next slide, please. Riverside's Mayor Rusty Bailey and Fontana's Mayor Aquanetta Warren standing proud with Assembly Member Sabrina Cervantes. They support our makers and they fight for those concrete boxes, as some might refer to us as. They see our large buildings employing thousands of local talent in our communities. They are manufacturing advocates. Assembly Member Sabrina Cervantes has lots to say about diversity and inclusion when it comes to women in manufacturing. At the age of 38, she is the youngest district member supporting Riverside County and the LGBTQ proud. She and her wife just welcomed triplets into the world. Sabrina spoke at all of our Women in Manufacturing events, helping me promote and inspire women into this industry. Now think about this. Diversity equals innovation. Innovation equals growth, and growth equals jobs. Next slide, please. Senator Roth and Congresswoman Norma Torres, thank you. I'm proud to call them both my friends. They understand this industry and continue to advocate for makers in our region. Congresswoman Norma Torres was just with me pre-COVID in a manufacturing plant tour at an inland manufacturer that produces underwater welding equipment and tactical police safety gear. And I have to say, I did have her suit up. It was pretty cool. We walked her around the manufacturing plant. She got to talk to all the employees, and she takes all that information and knowledge back to Washington when she fights for us. It's always a pleasure to share with our makers, those that support our industry. Next slide, please. So thank you all for your time today. Thank you to the City of Corona and the Chamber, to Bobby, and for the platform to share and inspire you. At this point, I'll turn it back to Jessica. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Sonney, so much. I think we're all now in the center of the right tone and mindset to be inspired and to think about those exciting and countless opportunities that are in manufacturing. So thank you for that. Now we are going to segue into our featured keynote speaker. But before I introduce Ed Magee, I want to share with you a video that they provided, which is going to give you a glimpse into what it's like in the Fender family. So please, if we can play the video. Thank you.
Leo Fender said artists are angels and that his job was to give them wings. Every day, Fender employees arrive at the Dream Factory in Corona, California to fulfill Leo's mission. Their passion and commitment have touched the lives of millions of people around the world for over 70 years.
The most rewarding thing I would say about working at Fender would be being a part of rock and roll history, contributing my small part, making sure that the tool for the rock star is ready to go.
It's the fact that we're not just making some random chair or table. It's something that somebody's going to take and really pour their soul into it to make art with it. Like being a musician myself, I know that every one of these guitars are going to be something that somebody uses to create art. and something that somebody else is going to like hold on to and take as part of themselves. So to me, that makes it all worthwhile.
Hundreds of skilled hands infuse soul, excellence, innovation, and craftsmanship in every instrument we make. These hands help artists tell their stories, creating a lifetime of memories for people like you and me.
Well, I think some of the critical keys for successful manufacturing is understanding that there's a balance of the art and science of guitar manufacturing. I mean, we use Six Sigma, we use all these incredible tools because we want a repeatable, replicatable product for our customers. But then there's the magic of setting up an instrument, and even at the end of of our manufacturing process, we still have to do the setup. It still has one more step to becoming a musical instrument, and really understanding that and watching how those two worlds actually come together to create great instruments. I mean, that's the secret of successful manufacturing at Fender.
Our passion, enthusiasm, and energy have transformed music worldwide in nearly every genre and every continent. A cultural icon, Fender is woven into the daily fabric of our everyday lives in obvious and not so obvious ways.
One of the most rewarding things about working at Fender is the people. I mean, everywhere you interact with someone in the company, whether it's manufacturing or marketing or finance or even our fantastic communications team, they are just passionate about the work that they are doing to support our mission, and that's serving players at every stage.
Them supporting us in the shop floor, asking for our opinions, our feedback, it's great because end of the day, we want to know what our customers think, what we have to improve on, and we're here as a team. We're here to help.
They're giving us more vision and more like insight into what they're doing, which helps a lot. When you tell us this is what we're doing, why we're doing it, it helps so much as opposed to before where we were just kind of in the dark. So Fender's gotten really good at communicating, which is awesome, which is huge for anybody on the floor. We want to know what's going on, and that helps a lot, I would say.
At Fender, we don't just make guitars. We fuel the pursuit of musical expression. In a collaborative space, we make history. We change lives. We inspire greatness.
That's our goal, is to be the best ones. Even though we're not the best ones, we just want to be better.
Legacy and passion.
Excelencia, prestigio.
Quality would be the second, and then craftsmanship.
Rock and roll history, first thing that comes to mind. That's what comes to mind when I hear Fender. Rock and roll history.
We are Fender.
Excellent. Well, I'm sure you're as excited as I am to hear now from Ed. So Ed Magee brings over 25 years of diverse work and life experience to his current role as Executive Vice President of Operations at Fender Musical Instruments Corporation, one of the world's leading musical instruments manufacturers, marketers, and distributors, transforming music history, as you heard, since 1946. And as the Executive Vice President of Operations, he oversees internal manufacturing here in Fender's Corona, California location, as well as Ensenada, Mexico factories. He also oversees supply chain and purchasing, logistics, distribution, and planning. But more than anything, I can tell you that Ed has unparalleled passion for manufacturing, creating unique products for artists, and he wants to share this passion with those aspiring to enter the field. So Ed, the floor is all yours, and thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Really appreciate spending some time with you all today. I am really excited because I get to talk about two of my favorite things in the world. Number one, manufacturing, and number two, making these incredible instruments here in Corona, California. So thank you so much. Next slide, please. So, obviously not everyone knows that, Fender's in the community, but we're not just in the community, we are part of a global community. And we've, our business was started in 1946 by Leo Fender, who was incidentally a saxophone player, not even a guitarist. We'll get into that in a little bit. We're headquartered in Hollywood, California, and we've got offices on 4 continents. So our instruments that are made here in Corona, California, literally go around the world and inspire music and creativity everywhere that they land. So right here in Corona, we make Fender branded instruments. We made Jackson and Chevelle and Gretsch and Eddie Van Halen products, and all done locally in Corona, California. Next slide, please. So we talked about vision and mission, and I think that is you know, it's incredibly important for leaders today, especially in this environment, to really dig into that mission and vision and connect our employees to that greater sense of purpose. Obviously, we're dealing with COVID. We're dealing with all of these incredible challenges of 2020. And, you know, work can be transactional, but what we want is for our employees to bring their whole selves to work. And in order to do that, you know, as leaders, we've got to take time investing in making sure that they understand our mission and vision. And you heard it in the video. There was a great story Leo Fender's wife shared with our CEO, Andy Mooney. And in one of Leo's more reflective moments, he said, you know, he believed that artists were angels and it was his job to give them wings to fly. And what could be a more powerful, you know, rallying cry for employees and your business? And it's just the idea that we are serving angels. We're serving a purpose greater than ourselves. Next slide. The other interesting change that has happened with the company in the last 5 years with Andy's arrival is he's focused our mission to serve players in every stage. And for a long time, our focus was really on that spirit of rock and roll and the rock stars and, you know, building these incredible instruments. But the big revelation is we have to also think about new players, and we've got to equally serve new players coming into the market. And we're doing that with things like our Fender Play learning application, great way to learn online. We've got products that are very, very affordable for new players. And we've got to think about the pipeline from new player all the way to the folks who are creating incredible art with our musical instruments. Next slide, please. So yeah, Leo had a superpower, and I mentioned this earlier. You know, he was a saxophone player, but he had a key skill that I think is very relevant in manufacturing, and it's a very core leadership, and it's just simply listening. Leo listened. He listened to the artist. He understood what they were trying to achieve. A guitar essentially is like a sonic paintbrush, and artists have different stories that they want to tell, different music genres that they want to create within. And what Leo did exceptionally well is he had a bunch of fantastic friends who were artists, and he listened. And I think that skill set is a skill set that applies to the manufacturing floor, that applies to any great business. When you take the time to connect with and listen to your employees, you get their hearts and minds. They can bring their whole selves to work. And, Sonney did a great job of kind of articulating, diversity equals innovation equals growth equals jobs. And quite honestly, it all starts with listening to your employees and letting them bring their whole selves to work. Next slide, please. So the other unique thing about Fender manufacturing is there's a balance of kind of the technical manufacturing skills for repeatability and replicatability, but also we work with wood, and wood is an organic substance. And you've got to listen to wood. You've got to talk to the wood, and the wood talks back. And what I found very interesting in transitioning from my time at Harley Davidson, to Fender is wood and metal are two completely different, mediums to work within. And respecting the wood and respecting just the organic nature of this, I mean, it's amazing when you bring it into the manufacturing process. And what we want to do is kind of blend that craftsmanship, the woodwork, the fact that you hold the instrument very close to your body. It's got to feel a certain way. It's got to perform a certain way, but it's got to also be very predictable. So it is a balance of manufacturing and craftsmanship that we have to bring to work every day. And again, it all goes back to listening to our employees, engaging with and listening to our employees. Next slide. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a rundown. And again, Sonney did a great job of talking about all the different opportunities within manufacturing. And, as the head of operations for Fender, Jessica kind of articulated, there's manufacturing, there's purchasing, there's our supply chain and planning teams, there's distribution and logistics. I'll give you a quick sense of Fender by the numbers, and then we're going to dig back into the employee aspect of our business. So we make over, and this is for our original equipment manufacturers, they make over 1.4 million guitars and amplifiers over the course of a year. It's when you think about complexity, it's over 1,600 different SKUs, We make over 500,000 amplifiers every year and 4.7 million accessories. So we need picks, we need guitar straps, we need pedals, all of these things that actually are part of this, the sonic chain that artists use to create great music. We've got 25 original equipment manufacturers and over 130 different folks providing suppliers across 30 different countries globally. So again, what Sonney was alluding to earlier, it's not just a Corona, California impact. We are working with suppliers all around the globe to create these great musical instruments and for folks at every stage. Next slide. So when we talk about what we actually make in our manufacturing sites, so we actually use 127 million units of raw materials. So that includes the strings, the wood, the tuning keys, all the bridges, all of the different parts. And our teams actually manage over 7,000 SKUs on any given day to create those guitars in our factories in both Corona and Ensenada. Again, we're making 300,000 guitars and 70,000 amplifiers and almost 1 million accessories a year between our two factories. So again, the factories have to integrate and work with over 680 other manufacturers across 40 different countries around the globe. So again, you're working in Corona, California, but your reach literally is around the world in both our Ensenada and Corona factories. Next slide, please. So what do we do in terms of shipping and transportation and logistics on any given day at Fender? We've got 740,000 pounds of equipment that's being moved around the globe via air. We've got 203 ocean containers at any given time on the ocean, moving between different suppliers or taking our guitars from Corona, California to locations around the world. We actually have 180,000 pounds of truckloads actually moving around the US at any given time. And again, in terms of careers and opportunities, and I thought Sonney did a great job of kind of articulating, it is not just the creation of the product. You've got to move it, you've got to make it, you've got to make it better. All of these things create great career opportunities in manufacturing. Every day, 6,000 parcel shipments, every day. 6,000 parcel shipments leave our warehouses and go to either customers or different dealers around the globe. So all of these aspects are important aspects of manufacturing, and all of these are incredible career opportunities for our community. Next slide, please. So one of the things that we just launched recently, I'm also in charge of new product introduction. So our teams just launched the American Pro 2. It is the largest marketing campaign that we've done as a company. And it is, I believe it's 1.5 billion media impressions in the last couple of weeks. And we've actually sent guitars to artists in 6 of the 7 continents around the globe. We haven't found an artist yet in Antarctica. Our marketing team is looking for that one guy or gal who loves guitar in Antarctica, and we're gonna find them. But we actually ship guitars to artists in 6 of 7 continents around the world when we launched the American Pro 2, built right here in Corona, California. The product line is over 100 SKUs, 15 model families, so that includes all the colors and all the different families of guitars. We launched with over 16,000 guitars ready to go out into the world. And again, Andy Mooney, our new CEO, his focus is on great marketing and great products. So we've got to have those products available when our marketing engine starts up to drive customers into our dealers around the world. We distributed over 300 samples, and those samples went to artists. They went to some of our sales customers, some of our businesses, and they created video content for those guitars. And again, I mentioned over 100 artists actually received guitars at launch as part of the campaign. And again, all of these products started right here in Corona, California. All right, next slide, please. All right, so the numbers are interesting. The numbers are compelling, but at the end of the day, manufacturing is a people business. And in order to effectively run a manufacturer, regardless of the level of automation, you've got to have great people who come to work every day. And again, what I am most proud of on any given day when I walk into the factory is just interacting with our folks on the floor. And when we as leaders do a good job of making sure that our employees are safe, obviously this year has been just an overwhelmingly, incredible year in terms of what we have to deal with when we make and service these products across the world. And I think our big lesson is we've got to start with our employee safety and put that at the forefront. And, it is a lesson that we have all known and understood for a long time. This year has amplified that need. And when we do that in a very authentic way, in a very transparent way, when we work with our employees to understand risk and how to deal with it effectively, it becomes this magic and. And I love talking about and versus or conversations. And this year, what we had to do is we had to protect our employees, we had to keep our employees safe, and we had to manage the business. And in manufacturing, we understand risk and how to manage and deal with risk probably as well as anyone else in the country and in the world. And what we did was, immediately we jumped into this engaged conversation with our employees around how do we best manage this risk this year. And, it starts with very clear and transparent communication. It starts with engaging all of our employees as they come to work in a lot of effective communication. And what we've done very effectively over the course of the last 8-9 months with COVID is we've made sure that our employees were safe for the 8 hours that they were at work. And, the city of Corona, Mayor Steiner, Sonney, everyone from the city was really engaged in helping us to really understand how to manage this risk effectively, keep our employees safe, and manage the business. And I think that's the key to, this community and the way that we work together, and the way that our community comes together to solve problems, and the way that, when we share information and we engage our employees, we get these brilliant outcomes. And again, the lesson of starting first with employee safety, and every decision that we made in terms of PPE, in terms of on-site testing. We actually do on-site testing at our factory in Corona every week. All of those things came together because at the end of the day, manufacturing is about people, and people come from the communities that we live and work in. And we get all of our incredible employees from this community, and they tie into that mission and purpose of our company, and they make great products that go around the world. And that gets me excited to come to work every day. In the middle of the screen, I'll tell a quick story. You see the older gentleman, Roger Zentano, celebrated his 91st birthday 2 weeks ago. He still works in the factory. He started working at Fender in 1960, and he's come to work in this factory every day this year. That's the level of commitment that we have from our employees when they believe and trust in the mission, in the purpose, in the leaders, in what we do every day in the factory. And we're super proud of that work. And we're super proud of being a part of this community in Corona, California. Next slide, please. So, again, some of the lessons for manufacturers, for manufacturing, we've got to think about what do we communicate to our employees every day when they come to work. And this is something that I've done in just about every factory that that I've ever led. What does that employee entrance look like when they walk into the factory? Because oftentimes you'll go to a manufacturing site, you'll see the real nice entrance at the front where all the muckety mucks come in and the plant managers come in. And then you go to the employee entrance and it looks a little bit dismal, looks a little bit, like an old high school gym, and, there's a security guy. And we wanted to turn that on its head. We wanted to show our employees that from the moment that you walk into the factory, we treat you with dignity and respect. We connect you with the history of the company. I mean, it's well lit. It's, we're showing them the respect and the commitment that we want throughout the course of the day. And I think one of my big lessons being in manufacturing, when you respect your employees, they bring their whole selves to work, you get better problem solving, you get these great ideas, and you service your customers in a much more sustainable way. So for everyone on the call, think about your employee entrance. Think about the message that you convey to your employees from the first moment that they walk into the door. And when you show them love and respect, they show you love and respect right back. Next slide, please. So again, this year has really exacerbated and really highlighted a key learning. And I think it's true about what attracts people to manufacturing. If you love learning every day, if you are a student and a disciple of learning, then manufacturing is the career for you. Because the only way to become a great manufacturer is to walk into your plant every day and think about, what lesson am I going to learn? How am I going to solve this problem? There are always problems, right? And there's a great Harvard Business Review article that says the ability to learn, and then our chief talent officer actually added, and change. So it's the ability to learn and change are the only remaining sustainable advantages. And I think that is true of American manufacturing. I mean, and really great manufacturing around the globe happens when organizations are really committed to learning and develop a skill set around changing and getting better every day. And again, if that excites you, then careers in manufacturing are exactly the thing that can help solve that need in your life. Next slide, please. So that's kind of the talking piece of the presentation. I am super thrilled to be a part of this community, and I get to see every day the employees that come to work in this factory that are part of this community in Corona, California, and they bring their best to work. And, you know, we were talking to Mayor Steiner last week in recognition of Manufacturing Week in Corona. And what communities bring is the quality of the workforce, the quality and character of the workforce. And we see that every day. And then just the ease of doing business. And again, what I am really proud of about, you know, we've been in Corona since 1985, and we're here for a reason. And we want to stay here for a reason, because we're committed to manufacturing, because we're committed to Southern California, because we are committed to this incredible workforce that creates guitars that go to 6 of the 7 continents around the world. I'm really proud to be a part of this community. Fender is proud to be a part of this community. And wherever we can share in your best and brightest and put them to work, making the most incredible instruments that go around the world, I'm absolutely committed to doing that too. So with that, Jessica, thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you, Ed. And I suspect we'll get a lot of questions of, are you hiring? So just, I'm sure we'll see those coming up.
Yes, and the short answer is yes, yes. Go to fender.com/careers. So please go check out our website. Dennis, go noodle around and find some great opportunities and share them with the community, please.
Perfect. So far we have heard from Sonney sharing about the exciting careers coming in the pipeline, that manufacturing is for everyone. We've heard from Ed sharing the dynamic, inspirational story of Fender, and certainly making Fender a wonderful company that you would want to work for. And now we're going to hear from Charles Henkels as he shares, well, how do you position yourself for one of these careers in manufacturing? So Charles is the director of the Regional Apprenticeship and Work-Based Learning for Riverside Community College District. He is committed to combining education with meaningful work experience. In 2018, he began leading the Inland Empire's Launch Apprenticeship Network, which focuses on creating new apprenticeship pathways and creating that critical bridge between manufacturers and the next workforce generation. Charles, this is your time. Thank you for joining us today.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. I want to thank the City of Corona, the Chamber as well, and Dennis and Ed. Man, you've made it a tough act to follow. So Jessica, I admire your courage putting someone that works for the community colleges at the end of this presentation. But I'm gonna do my best.
Hey Charles, you guys enable all the great work that we do. So we love you. Keep doing what you're doing. All right.
Thanks, Ed. Yeah. So I'm actually gonna do a little bit of a callback to you know, one of the slides that Ed had put up earlier was a couple of young musicians. And what Ed had referred to was building basically a pipeline. So I want to, if you can put that image back in your mind, you know, while we have this slide up for a second. The reason I want to bring it up is, so in education and oftentimes in industry, sometimes you'll hear this phrase, the skills gap, and a lot of times what it's referring to is businesses are trying to get jobs done. They're trying to, you know, fulfill orders, and they can't find workers with the skills that they need. And so they put out job ads that go unanswered, or when they are answered, people aren't qualified for those positions. And so that's usually a lot of times when we use this phrase skills gap to kind of describe when that's happening in an economy or in a particular industry. But the reason why I actually wanted to kind of reference that, that slide earlier that Ed had pulled up is the skills gap is one of these things that actually works both ways, and we don't often think of it that way. So imagine yourself being a young, aspiring musician. You go to Guitar Center or something like that, and you look at those Fender guitars, and someone says, "Hey, you can't play these unless you're like Eric Clapton or something. You need to go over to the other instruments. Don't bother here. You're not not needed. You don't know what you're doing yet." That would rip the heart out of you, right? It would make you go, okay, I don't belong in this world. This place won't accept me. I need to go and do something else, or I need to find something else. And I think, as we talk, we're going to talk a lot about, manufacturing apprenticeships. I want to, like I said, I want to just kind of fix that in our minds as we proceed, is that, a big part of what I think is happening in the Inland Empire with Corona manufacturers in particular is this idea of really changing the culture around manufacturing. And to do that, I think we need to have, a similar mindset of what is our talent pipeline? Do our students, does our community feel connected to the work that that's being done in our area? Do they feel like manufacturing is for me? I'm welcome here. These businesses, these opportunities are for me, and I can do it. And so that's really what Launch is about. And so we're going to dive into the details of that. But as Jessica had mentioned, I've been working here in this region. I got started at Norco College in 2016, and we'll go into some of that history. But I've been working with manufacturers throughout the Inland Empire now for about 3 years, really kind of focused on helping connect our college programs, our K through 12 programs, our workforce development boards, and our business partners, our employers in this area, to build that talent pipeline, right? So that we always have good manufacturers building up. And so if you can go to the next slide, I want to talk about the big idea. What is Launch? Why do we exist? And where do you plug in? What's your role within Launch? So the big idea is that the world of work is changing around us, and we're changing it at the same time. It's something that we're kind of actively participating in, and so as educators, we feel responsibility, really to change too, to kind of evolve, to relook at the way we're approaching education, and we're approaching workforce development. And so if you're used to the historical idea of, hey, I'm going to go to high school, then I'm going to go to college, then I'm going to graduate, then I'm going to go find a job, this presentation might feel kind of rough, because that's not actually the way that we approach education and Launch. Our goal in Launch is really to do what we're talking about here, is to approach it from basically from kind of a regional industry focus, as opposed to just an education focus. So what we do in Launch is, our goal is to work with our local businesses and create clusters, find companies with shared interests, shared talent needs, and begin to kind of cluster them up. And then at the same time, connect our local institutions, our community colleges, our high schools, our school districts, our county office of ed, but start getting them connected. And not just connected in terms of like a transaction of, hey, how do we prepare a graduate to one day enter the field? We actually ask our businesses, hey, how can our students start interacting today? What can they do now? Even if it's just giving them a tour, even if it is, just kind of, coming and making a presentation, to, going as far as hiring apprentices from the system, that's our big question with our industry partners. And the idea is that we want to kind of nurture this. This is a process. This is a partnership development type of thing. But ultimately, where we are going is, we are taking the state's apprenticeship system, which is right now about 95,000 people, and we are growing it about 5 times its current size. That's what Launch is about, is taking a historical system and really kind of expanding it, bringing it into sort of a modern modern version of what could be. And we know that, this apprenticeship model, this approach of combining experiential learning with continued education, continued training is really effective for people. And so from a, kind of from a high level, like I said, that's what Launch is doing. But now what I want to do is actually want to zero in on what Corona is doing. How did Corona, kind of fit into this and what happened? So if you could go to the next slide. So I want to, it's impossible to find a date, right, to mark the beginning of anything. But I did kind of want to at least sort of make an attempt at that. And so back in September of 2017, the city of Corona designated October as Manufacturing Month. And they held, I remember at the city council meeting, we were there, they honored, 400 of those manufacturers that Jessica had referenced earlier. But basically they kind of, in my opinion, sort of really cemented in that manufacturing is important to this region. It's not going away. It's part of, it's part of the fabric of our community here. And so they memorialized it by making October Manufacturing Month. Well, that same fall, so I think it was either the August or October, is right around that same date, we held a meeting, and I think it was hosted by the city of Corona, also with the Corona Chambers, and they invited, there were about 30 to 40 different firms, manufacturing companies from the region that participated. And the number one issue that those employers said was, they said, listen, we can't find people. People don't know that there's good careers in manufacturing, and we don't feel like the school system is helping us change that right now. And we sort of went back to our, went back to our campuses and looked at each other and said, hey, there's a disconnect, because we know we have great programs. Actually, I want to do a little quick call out. Paul Van Hull is an instructor over at Norco College. He commented, the very first picture that popped up were two of his students, one probably from years ago, one actually probably might be a current one. We've known that we've had good programs, but we recognized there was this disconnect. And so what we did was we went back as a group of colleges, a group of educators, and I put on here this little logo, the Inland Empire Desert Regional Consortium. You don't have to memorize the name, but if you do, extra points at the end. But basically what that is that's the community colleges here in the Inland Empire, and also now the K through 12 districts, the high school districts. And what we did is we asked them to make an investment, and we said, hey, listen, here's our issue. We've got this incredible industry that feels disconnected from us. Will you help us by sort of funding a project that helps us begin to build these partnerships? And so in 2018, that was when Launch was created. The Inland Empire Desert Region Consortium basically funded the community colleges throughout the Inland Empire to work on this partnership. Here locally in Corona, what that meant is that Norco College, Corona Norco Unified School District, the city of Corona, and the chambers, they began meeting together. And they, at the time in 2018, they formed the workforce strike team. That's what it was referred to. And it was basically, a series of meetings that took place between those different groups. Through that year, or in that year, what happened was we launched the first manufacturing apprenticeship group here in the Inland Empire, here in the Corona area. We launched a couple other committees in other parts of the Inland Empire too. Also that same year, what we did was we kind of realized we had dialed into something that could work, and we sought some extra funding from a private foundation, the James Irvine Foundation, who's really been, kind of a critical partner for us, and really believes in the Inland Empire, and sort of came to our side and said, yes, continue this work. If you can go to the next slide, please. And so what we did was we took that group of manufacturers and we said, listen, we heard you back in 2017. You said that the schools weren't able to help supply talent. We think that we can, but we think there's a disconnect. And to prove it, what we did was we actually pointed to some of the talent that we already had in the region. And so, for example, this little picture, this was Norco High School Automated Manufacturing Team wins at National Skills USA Convention. So that was a competition, nationwide competition. They went out to Kentucky, to go participate in this competition, and they won. That's us. That's our local team, right? How cool is that? Now you can't, unfortunately I can't Zoom or anything like that, but but there's there's a gentleman that's kind of a little bit left. He's sort of the left of center, kind of towards the back. You might recognize his face from that first picture. He's the same guy. The apprentice in that picture is also in here. And basically our argument with business was, we said, hey, rather than telling these kids, go to school, do your best, go as far as you can, get some degrees. What if instead of waiting, we got them into the workforce now? We got them experiencing what manufacturing was about. We plugged them in and we put them to work, and at the same time allowed them to continue their education. And the businesses, they thought that sounded pretty good. And so they decided they would start hosting, field trips. They'd let students kind of come and tour their factories, and they would really kind of open their doors in a way. And got another picture here, same idea. This student was part of the Corona High School STEM, STEM program and engineering program at Corona High School. He recently started an apprenticeship with Brenner Fiedler. They're a business that's just kind of on the west side of Riverside. But like I said, what we're really working on in Launch is getting students instantly connected, plugged in, beginning to focus. Like I said, if you think back to those early musicians, right? That's kind of our goal. Early manufacturers, get them plugged in, get them to start practicing, get them used to it. And so part of Launch is, like I said, is making businesses invested partners in talent development, invested partners in our students. We don't see it as our students for a time and then their employees. We really look at it as kind of a shared partnership. The other thing is that businesses, are not just consumers of talent, they're creators of talent. And so we really rely on those business partners to provide real learning. Our apprentices aren't just, going out and sweeping floors or picking up coffee. They're really involved in production. They're really involved in the bottom line success of those companies. And educators, what we're doing is we're asking, really for a couple new things, in addition to, continuing to provide, training, education. What we're also doing is we're saying, hey, consider what's local opportunity for you. What industries in your area can you immediately connect students with, and prioritize that? Make that an important thing. Don't forget, what keeps people employed. Don't forget what keeps them, moving forward in a career, and really be intentional about, like I said, making those partners. And then finally, prioritize experiential learning. Oftentimes it's really easy, especially in the world of education, to kind of get tunnel vision and to think of, to think only about teaching, right? To think only about the classroom when school is really about learning. And we believe, experiential learning is a critical component of a good education. We think that it's something that historically has often kind of been limited. Most of the time you had to be, a pretty well-connected individual to get, really high quality experiential learning. We think that experiential learning should be open to everybody. And so that's one of our missions in Launch, is to make this a normal part of education, not something that, is the exception to the rule. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So in addition to, like I said, kind of connecting those young musicians, so to speak, those young manufacturers, the other thing that we do with businesses is when we had these meetings, is they also indicated to us that, hey, there is also a big need for the current workforce. Not everybody picked up the guitar at 12, right? So like if you're, and so what else Launch does is it also helps create a kind of a bridge program for people that are already in the workforce and they're looking to make career advancements. And so, really we have a real range within the Launch Network. We have students that are, as young as 17 years old that are getting plugged into apprenticeships. And then we have students that are not 17 and are looking for, they're looking for their next step, right? They're looking to, continue advancing. And so what we do, with businesses is kind of unique. Historically, apprenticeship has always been, something that was very kind of craft and occupation oriented. And in many ways it still is within the Launch program. But what we found was we started working with companies and we had to create something that was a little more dynamic. And so we asked businesses, can you help paint a picture of what next steps look like at your business? And so what our companies do to participate in Launch is they outline that. They make it transparent for us. They make it transparent for their, for their employees. to help see, hey, if I learn how to do X and I prove that I'm capable of Y, I have a chance at that next position, or I have a chance at that next, that next step up. And then what we do again, with the educators is we ask them to kind of match their training systems to that. So again, I kind of emphasize that word system. We're not just focused on the classroom. So we're not just saying, make your curriculum, sort of match what's happening on the job. We're really asking them to approach this from a comprehensive structure. So matching experiential learning with the right courses, really customizing it based on what apprentices need, based on what their goals are and what opportunity for learning they're really being given by their company. So like I said, different levels. These are some of the programs that we've been doing here in Corona. You see manufacturing technicians, machinists. We've actually partnered with Fender in a master builder program. And so that's one of their apprentices working on a Gretsch guitar, production technology. We've also implemented things like Lean, Six Sigma training, some different areas. If you could go to the next slide. So from an economic development standpoint, a lot of what we look at is we think of, skill or launch as sort of a manufacturer of talent. That's a big part of where we see ourselves fitting into kind of the fabric of the work that we're doing as a local economy. And so what we do is we've been working on ways, really to, not just to kind of create these pathways, but to measure our success. Look at, are we a positive, impact on our local economy? And the way we do that is we measure talent development, we measure skills. And so we have a pretty qualitative and quantitative approach to skill development. We see it as something that is objective. And our goal is, like I said, is to kind of build talent in the IE, not just identify it, not just help map it out, but really to grow it, start from, start from zero and build from there. Part of the way the skills are identified is we ask, career builders, we ask the mentors of these career builders to help put people on kind of a skill pathway. And so that's sort of how we identify those individual skills. If you could go to the next slide. What mentors are is they're professionals within the manufacturing industry. What we do is we have them join. They're actually the people that supervise the apprentices, but they're also more than that. Really what mentors do for us is, I always tell them, really what mentors do for us is they tell us if this program's working, right? If they see apprentices growing, if they see them changing, that's a big part of what I rely on mentors for. But what apprentices rely on mentors for is to understand how to take the next step. So again, we go back to those young musicians. If they can't see what is the right, what's the right pace of growth? What should I be shooting for over the next, 3 months, over the next 6 months, over the next 6 years? They're going to get lost, right? I remember the first time I picked up a guitar, I think I was 15 years old and I sucked, right? and compared to a lot of people, I still do, but I didn't have anybody that explained to me, here's how you go through that process. So don't expect yourself to go out and look like, Jimi Hendrix on the first day, but actually take time. Here's the skills you need to learn early on. And that's really what we rely on mentors to do is nobody can see an apprentice close up except for mentors. Nobody can really speak into, apprentices' lives, into their careers the way that mentors can. And so it's become an increasingly important role. We're going to be hosting a series of, we've started our first workshops already. We're going to be hosting a series throughout this next year. We're hoping to certify 50 mentors within the Corona area. And so if you or anybody at your company is interested in participating in that, please feel free to reach out. Go ahead to the next slide. And so, the final thought that I kind of wanted to end with were these two things, that people matter and partnerships make the difference. I think, what probably stuck out most to me through Dennis's presentation and to Ed's presentation is that manufacturing is all about people. The products that are being made have to connect with people, right? The people that are going to use that thing. That's what, I think Dennis did such a good job of really portraying. And then I think Ed, did an awesome job of kind of explaining it's really people that make this stuff happen. It's not, as much as we have automation or new machines coming in, it's still people getting the job done. People making it happen. And then finally, partnerships make the difference. One thing that we definitely know within the system from those early conversations with industry is there can't be disconnects in order for this to work. We really need, businesses, we need educators to be invested, in the process of this. And so that's what we're, really about within Launch. And if you're interested in either people or partnerships, I think we're a good, good group of people to talk to. So go ahead to the next slide. There's my contact information. So I mentioned before, the desert or the Inland Empire Consortium. You can find information at that at www.desertcolleges.org. So it's 12 community colleges. You can kind of see a little bit of where those are placed within the region. Each college is a little unique. They have different different programs, different focuses. Obviously I mentioned for Corona, Norco College has been an invaluable partner. They've done so much to make sure that programs are really connecting with the local industry, and so big thanks to Norco College. Riverside Community College District has kind of been really a backbone, I think, for this particular area in the development of these programs. So there's my contact info. Please feel free to reach out, and I really appreciate the time.
Excellent. Thank you, Charles, for that really insightful and way to bring it home. You tied in everything so nicely from our two former speakers. So I knew that third slot was perfect for you. It's perfect. So just want to now turn it over to, of course, our participants' opportunity to post any questions. So Deborah, have we received any questions via the chat?
I'm taking a look at it right now, and maybe there are a few folks who are still trying to think of something to ask our speakers. So I'll give them a few minutes to probably think and type it out in the chat. But I did notice there is one question here asking about what is the Corona Chamber. Maybe you're curious as to who is hosting this webinar right now. And just to give you a little bit of info, the Corona Chamber, or our organization, is here to be a resource to you, to business owners and individuals who are planning to put up. If you're a student who is here and you're planning to put up a small business, it's a really good idea to become a member here at the Chamber. We not only serve as a resource providing seminars just like this one, the one that you're attending right now. We have various events as well, catering to your needs. We also serve as your advocate, giving you assistance in trying to understand legislations, propositions, especially with the elections coming up, propositions that would affect you as a business owner. So we help you an understanding, or coming to an understanding of those things, and be in the front lines really of going to Seattle, going to Washington, and advocating for you as a business owner. So if you are here and you're a business owner, know somebody who is a business owner who might benefit from becoming a member at the Chamber, we encourage you to do so. You could give us a call. The information is on your screen now. You can contact Robert Yanez, and he is our membership development specialist. You can give him a call and ask about what are the other benefits to becoming a member, or just more information on what we do here. So I'm looking at the chat again to see if there are any more questions. And it looks like all three presentations were pretty straightforward and clear. So I'm going to just turn it back over to Jess.
Perfect. Well, first of all, two quick things. One is I want to reinforce what Charles was sharing about partnerships. So here in the city, we are very fortunate to have amazing partnerships here, working closely with our business community, as with, Fender has exemplified here through Ed's presentation, also with our Corona Chamber, with our resource agencies, obviously here with CMTC, with Charles, the Apprenticeship Network, Riverside Community College District. Just want to thank you, because without this collaboration between all these entities, we would only be limited in how much we can accomplish in supporting our industries. So I want to thank you, take that moment. Then also this year, I do have a question here that I want to ask Ed, this year being one of obviously epitomizing resiliency, all the challenges that everyone has faced. If you can share, Ed, maybe as you were embarking in your career in manufacturing, any challenging moment that maybe was a defining moment and how you overcame that to inspire those folks that maybe have faced similar challenges in their career path.
Sure. I mean, I think really Sonney did a great job of kind of articulating, just what is manufacturing like. And I think for anyone who's spent any time in the business, you spend time every day dealing with problems, right? You're problem solving, and it's just a part of your nature. I think this year has probably been one of the most challenging years for all manufacturers because we've got this outside influence that's really having an impact on our ability to keep our employees safe and to manage the business. So I think this year has been one of those exceptional years. One of the big lessons that we kind of learned in just doing some of the work around with our employees around resilience is interestingly, it's about reflection. So that's kind of the low beams, high beams. That's the get out of the transactional work and step back and reflect on all the good work, all the good behaviors, all the great innovations, and take the time to thank our employees, right? Take the time to jump in and connect with them. Part two is on relationships. So this is a period that's challenged us as human beings, and the relationships that we build with our employees, you got to move past the, hey, how are you doing? Fine, right? You got to kind of dig in and invest and, take an hour. If it takes an hour, take 15 minutes, just the drive by, how you doing? Everything is fine. Yeah, that doesn't work anymore. And the last thing is just take the time to laugh. I think, when all of this overwhelming stuff is just weighing down on everybody, just as leaders, and taking the time to laugh and finding something to laugh about, just kind of helps exercise the muscle around resilience. And this year was extraordinarily challenging because there was so much ambiguity at the start of the pandemic in how to keep folks safe. And, we operated our factory with volunteers for the first few months because we needed to figure out how to manage the risk. And, I would pop into the factory. We talked to our employees. We held regular roving town halls to talk to them about what was going on. And I think taking the time to do that this year was an enormous part of what helped build the organizational resilience to get through this madness, right? And our employees delivered. And again, this speaks to the character of the community that we live and work in. And they did volunteer, and all of this ambiguity, we figured things out, and we've kept our employees safe through the pandemic. And so, this year, I think for all manufacturers, Jessica, is going to be the year of all the crazy stories. But it goes back to what Sonney and Charles are talking about. It starts with people. And it starts with respecting your people and listening and doing all those blocking and tackling things. And that's probably one of the core elements of organizational resilience, is just taking the time to invest in your people.
Excellent. Thank you, Ed, for sharing that. And a good reminder, you reminded me also, we are going to be partnering with CMTC on workplace safety for manufacturers.
Excellent.
That should be coming in the next few weeks. And so that's certainly something that we want to continue being a partner to our various manufacturers that are, of course, continuing to find that guidance in these very uncertain times. But certainly hearing from Ed, hearing from Sonney and Charles, the resources are out there, the enthusiasm is out there, and the investment in the workforce is certainly a leading factor in that. So Deborah, if we don't have any other questions, then I just want to...
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I actually did just receive a question privately, and I guess it's in follow-up to the question regarding the chamber. This question is going out to Ed, and somebody would like to know how has being a member in partnership with the City of Corona and the Corona Chamber of Commerce benefited Fender?
Yeah, sure. Great question. So I kind of mentioned this earlier, just my perspective coming in from, we had factories at Harley in Milwaukee and York, Pennsylvania. And whenever you're going through a challenge as a manufacturer, you've got to reach out to your local community. And when they pick up the phone, that's kind of step one. When they answer your phone calls, that's step one. And what I've found in this community, and certainly in Corona, everyone from Mayor Steiner to Jessica to Sonney, when we reach out with problems, they answer the phone. So I think it's a very simple thing, but it matters. Part two is we talk about partnerships and what problems we're trying to solve. Our apprenticeship program. So we've got 12 of the best guitar builders on the planet working here in Corona, California, in our custom shop. And, they're getting a little older. They're moving along. And what we need to do is think about our pipeline of master builders. So we work with Norco, we work with our Corona chamber in developing a curriculum to start developing our next generation of builders. And it's some of it is blocking and tackling skills around measuring, some of it is programming, some of it is very high skilled and technical. And then a lot of it is just, you've got to have folks who love working with their hands. And it is blending and making that investment in the workforce that the Corona team, the chamber, certainly Jessica's team have been extraordinarily responsive in figuring out how to solve problems. So I think as a manufacturer, what you want is a community that answers the phone. You're always going to have challenges, whether it's startup challenges or growth challenges or whatever those challenges are. And it does take that community village to effectively navigate some of these big challenges. So, the most important thing from a chamber standpoint, from a city of Corona, is just they are some of the best partners that I've certainly seen in my tenure as a manufacturer.
Thank you so much. You said it so much better than I ever could because you are a member, and it's really the members who get to experience like all of these benefits. So you'll only really find out once you come on board. Ed was actually so kind to include the website to our chamber on the chat. So if you just scroll up, it's mychamber.org if you want to find out more information. Other than that, like I said, you could just give us a call. And with that, I hand it back to Jessica.
Excellent. Well, thank you everyone for spending your morning with us and being inspired. Thank you to our speakers. Want to wish the rest of you a great week. And remember that we are here. You've met now several resource partners, a testimonial. So we're all here to help you as you continue your career path in manufacturing. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.